If conflict ever erupts over Taiwan, the global economy could feel it within days. U.S.-China tensions are rising rapidly over Taiwan, trade, military influence, and technology. New sanctions, military posturing, competing alliances, economic pressure. Tonight, 5 retired spies share their honest personal opinions on one of the most dangerous geopolitical rivalries in the world today. No official lines, no spin, just experience. Let's begin. Back with us tonight, Texas Buck McCoy, Colonel Dimitri Volkov, Madame Li Wei, Sir Reginald Hawthorne, Lukas Brunner. 5 retired spies, 5 very different worldviews. First round, what is actually happening right now?
U.S.-China rivalry has entered a much more dangerous phase. America is strengthening alliances across the Indo-Pacific, while China is increasing military pressure around Taiwan. New tariffs and technology restrictions are escalating quickly. Both sides are testing each other's red lines. Global supply chains are already feeling pressure, and honestly, the risk of miscalculation is rising fast. This is becoming the most serious great power competition we've seen in decades.
The United States is clearly trying to contain China's rise as a global power. Washington is expanding military alliances, increasing arms cooperation, and restricting Chinese access to advanced technology. China is responding with stronger military positioning near Taiwan. This rivalry now affects the entire world economy and security environment. Russia is watching carefully because the global balance of power is shifting. This confrontation will likely define international politics for many years.
What we are seeing is rapidly intensifying strategic competition between 2 major powers. The U.S. views China's military growth as threatening. China views expanding U.S. alliances as threatening. Taiwan remains the most sensitive issue. Economic decoupling is accelerating in technology and trade sectors. Stability is becoming harder to maintain. Escalation benefits nobody. Peaceful coexistence should remain the priority.
The atmosphere across the Taiwan Strait has clearly deteriorated. Diplomatic language has become sharper. Military activity has increased significantly. Economic tensions continue to grow. European governments are increasingly nervous about being forced to choose sides. Frankly, we have not seen this level of great power rivalry in decades. The danger now is that mistrust itself becomes the driving force.
From a neutral perspective, this is a systemic shift in international relations. Trade, technology, finance, and military strategy are all being reshaped simultaneously. Smaller countries are facing growing pressure to align with one side or the other. Markets are becoming increasingly volatile. The greatest danger may not be deliberate war, but accidental escalation caused by miscalculation.
So everyone agrees tensions are rising. The real disagreement is who bears responsibility. Let's go there. Who bears the greatest responsibility for the rise in U.S.-China tensions? Speak freely.
China's military expansion is driving much of this tension. Large-scale exercises around Taiwan have become routine. Aggressive behavior in the South China Sea has alarmed neighboring countries. Beijing has dramatically increased military capabilities over the past decade. America and its allies are responding to what they see happening in real time. Washington isn't reacting to theory, it's reacting to China's actions.
No, Buck, that explanation is far too convenient. The United States has spent years building alliances and military structures aimed directly at containing China. Washington imposes sanctions, export controls, and technology restrictions while claiming it wants stability. China sees this as strategic encirclement. History shows that attempts to suppress rising powers rarely end peacefully. The current confrontation is largely driven by American policy.
You don't run constant military drills around Taiwan unless you want people nervous.
And you don't surround China with military alliances unless you expect confrontation.
Both sides are escalating tensions through actions and rhetoric. Mutual distrust is feeding the rivalry. Taiwan has become an extremely emotional and dangerous issue for both governments. Continued escalation increases risks for the entire region. Restraint and dialogue are urgently needed.
Frankly, multiple parties share responsibility. Washington has pushed hard with alliances and export controls. Beijing has responded with increasingly assertive military activity. Communication channels have weakened. That is extremely dangerous during periods of great power competition. History teaches us that miscalculation often matters more than intention.
From my perspective, this is a structural rivalry driven by economics, technology, security, and ideology simultaneously. Blame alone solves very little. The focus now should be creating guardrails strong enough to prevent escalation. Once the trust reaches certain levels, even small incidents can become dangerous.
Strong disagreements already. Let's look ahead. What happens next? What do you expect over the coming months?
I expect increased U.S. military cooperation with Taiwan and stronger technology restrictions on China. Beijing will likely respond with additional military signaling around the Taiwan Strait. Economic pressure between both countries will continue growing. Diplomatic talks may continue publicly, but real trust will remain extremely low. This rivalry is becoming long-term and structural.
China will continue strengthening military capabilities while deepening strategic cooperation with Russia and other partners. Trade wars will intensify further. Washington may struggle maintaining unified alliances over time. Smaller countries will increasingly try to remain neutral where possible. Long-term instability in the Asia-Pacific islands is likely.
Economic and political pressure will continue affecting both sides. Technology decoupling will accelerate in critical sectors. Many countries will call for calm and dialogue. However, rebuilding trust will remain difficult. Stability will require mutual respect and careful diplomacy.
I suspect diplomatic efforts behind closed doors are already increasing. However, without meaningful concessions from both sides, tensions will likely remain elevated. Military incidents in the Taiwan Strait may become more frequent. Europe will try avoiding direct alignment with either side. This rivalry will test international institutions severely.
Markets will remain volatile. Smaller countries will continue facing pressure to choose sides. Quiet mediation efforts may increase, though progress will likely remain slow. Deep mistrust now exists between both powers. A stable equilibrium may take years to rebuild.
Anyone want to challenge another prediction?
Dimitri assumes America's alliances are weaker than they actually are.
And Buck assumes economic pressure on China can continue forever without consequences.
Both sides should focus less on proving dominance and more on preventing escalation.
Which brings us to the darkest question tonight. What's the true worst-case scenario here?
The worst case is a direct military conflict over Taiwan. China attempts a blockade or invasion. The United States intervenes. Allies become involved. Naval warfare erupts across the Western Pacific. Global shipping and semiconductor production collapse. Oil prices surge. This could become the most dangerous international conflict since World War II.
A prolonged regional war would completely reshape the global order. Supply chains would collapse. Energy markets would experience chaos. Alliances would harden permanently. Russia-China cooperation would depend dramatically. Many countries would face severe economic crises. The consequences could last decades.
The humanitarian and economic consequences would be catastrophic. Global trade disruption alone would affect billions of people. Developing countries would suffer enormously from rising food and energy prices. International trust could collapse completely. Recovery from such a crisis would take many years.
Europe would suffer severe economic and political consequences from prolonged instability in Asia. Supply chains would remain disrupted for years. Energy prices would remain high. Political tensions could spread internationally, and once escalation spirals, controlling events becomes extremely difficult.
The collapse of confidence in global markets could trigger a major financial crisis. Trade routes would face severe disruption. International institutions could struggle to respond effectively. Recovery from that level of instability would be extremely difficult.
Very dark possibilities. Final verdicts.
America should stand firm with allies and protect stability in the region. But direct war with China must be avoided at all costs. Strategic competition needs careful management, not reckless escalation.
The United States is overreaching in its attempt to contain China's rise. That strategy risks accelerating confrontation rather than preventing it. Cooperation remains far wiser than escalation.
Mutual respect and peaceful coexistence remain essential. Both sides must avoid threatening each other's core interests. Stability benefits the entire world.
Careful diplomacy and patience are still possible even during periods of intense rivalry. History shows great powers can manage competition if leaders remain rational.
Practical communication and clear guardrails are critical now. Escalation serves nobody's long-term interests. Stability remains the ultimate goal.
Another serious discussion from the Retired Spies Club. 5 retired spies, 5 very different perspectives. Which verdict resonated with you the most? Let us know below. And if you enjoy deep geopolitical discussions with zero spin, subscribe and join the club. This is Cheesy Bond signing off. Stay safe. Stay thoughtful. We'll see you next time.